Good morning, class. Is my voice audible? Is my voice audible, students? And my screen is visible? Can I get one confirmation quickly?
Audible, ma'am, and screen is also
Yes, ma'am.
visible.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay, so in the last class we had discussed, we were discussing the, various cutting edge technologies or the emerging technologies, how those technologies are useful for, decision making or for developing, decision support systems, right? So, in continuation to those topics, today I have extracted few videos, which I'll be showing to all of you so that you can understand what technology that particular technology is, because yesterday we witnessed a lot of jargons, in fact, right, technical jargons. So few videos to you so that you can understand the concepts much better. Okay, yeah, the first one, it's about
What is
artificial
artificial
intelligence.
intelligence? Before we answer that, let's look at these terms individually. What do you understand by the term artificial? Well, it can be anything that is made by humans, things that are non-natural. And what do you understand by intelligence? It is the ability to understand, think, and learn. So what do we get when we combine these two together? Artificial intelligence is a broad area of computer science that makes machines seem like they have human intelligence. The goal of AI is to mimic the human brain and create systems that can function intelligently and independently. They say that the age of AI is here. But then, you might be wondering, why don't you see flying cars or robotic maids bringing you lunch? Why doesn't your life look more like the Jetsons? Well, for starters, that's a cartoon, and when it comes to AI, a robot is nothing more than a shell concealing what's actually used to power the technology. AI can manifest itself in many different ways. If you have ever asked Alexa to order your food or browse Netflix movie suggestions, you are actually interacting with AI without realizing it. And that's kind of the point. AI is designed so you do not realize that there is a machine calling the shots. In the near future, AI is expected to become a little less artificial and a lot more intelligent. As AI becomes more intelligent, it will obviously take on the role of an intelligent worker. While most of the repetitive and largely time-oriented tasks can be automated using AI, we will still need human experts who can build and maintain these synthetic bots and work on the strategic and creative aspects of a job. So in conclusion, AI is a boon that can help optimize any job. This means that, as always, it's not AI versus humans. Rather, it is a combination of humans and AI versus the actual problem statement. So what are you waiting for? Pull up your socks and get ready to be a part of this AI revolution. Start learning this trending technology using Edureka's expertly curated courses. Until next time, happy learning!
Okay, so I think
Is the Canada PR on your wish list? Canada is looking for.
yeah. Okay, so the first video was about AI. Okay, so very brief introduction about the technology, what exactly the artificial intelligence is, and what can we expect in the coming future, and how the AI will, take its role or demonstrate its role in all the look and corners of our daily routines or daily applications, whatever we use. So the next one is based on the cognitive science, what exactly the cognitive science is. So if you have a look at the video, and we'll just come back.
Cognitive science is the study of the mind, the way we interact with people, the technology that we can kind of develop behind it, and just looking at the way that we think.
Cognitive science to me is like psychology, but better, involving more harder science and also going more into the sort of abstract theoretical side, but with the inclusion of philosophy.
I think it was my calling from the beginning, but I didn't know it existed. After talking to one of the faculty members that I took psychology with, there was a cognitive science program on campus that kind of integrated everything that I was interested in.
Now I'm taking neurobiology, and it's just fantastic. It is one of my favorite classes that I have taken.
The 4 sections of the program are biology, psychology, computer science, and philosophy. I am a senior this year, so I've had a lot of experience in all 4 of them. Starting with computer science, I never thought I would ever take a computer science course in my life. But then because of this major as part of it, so I was like, I'll just challenge myself, like just try and do it. And it was hard, but it changed the way that I thought. I chose cognitive science at MSU because it encompassed everything that I thought would be obviously great for graduate school, but also what covered my interest. Having a large part of it be biology, but also psychology, kind of the 4 interdisciplinary things coming together, looking at a different point of view.
They're great teachers also. They explain things well. They balance education and having a good time very appropriately.
My goal in life is to help people in an education sense. The way that I could do that is through cognitive psychology, introducing ways in which to best learn. What are strategies that will entice people to learn, but also challenge them enough to where the learning strategies are effective.
It would be super awesome to graduate and be one of the select few cognitive science alumni here at Mankato.
Okay. So what could you see, students, in the second video, especially the cognitive science? It was actually the students, right? Students of one particular university demonstrating, why they are studying or why they have taken the major as cognitive science as their specialization. Give me 1 minute. So what did you see in the video, students? Yeah, students were discussing about the major, cognitive science, but apart from that, you could see some models, right? What were those models? In fact, the models of the brain, right? Yes or no? They were working with various models, right? Did you see that? They were literally, making use of the brains, and they were carrying out a lot of studies and analysis based on, the signals which they would have simulated, or, emulation of the human brain. Correct? Do you see all or not? You see that particular model, what they were holding, the students of that particular university with respect to cognitive science? Yes or no, students, at least respond. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So now there's one more video. All of you just look into this. Post that, we will just.
Business Now is brought to you by Nextel. You've never used a phone like this before. Ernst & Young LLP, from thought to finish. And by TD Waterhouse, the global online financial services firm. And now here again is Karen Ryan.
We have come to rely on our keyboarding skills and the mouse to express ourselves these days. But Business Now's Mary McGuire reports there's a new technology that relies on the sense of touch. And it's becoming an exciting new tool for designers, doctors, and business people.
Cars, furniture, phones, dishware, jewelry. These everyday items share a common element, design. Creating and incorporating design into products and manufacturing and getting those products to market swiftly is a daunting task. But an exciting new software tool from Boston-based Sensible Technologies is enabling companies around the world to enhance the quality and speed to market of their design-based products.
Business studies show that when you have something that's designed well, not only will the product generate more profit margin, but it will have a longer life cycle.
The product facilitating three-dimensional design is called the Freeform system, the first application to integrate touch into computer modeling. It's not only transforming design capabilities, it's revolutionizing the way in which we interact with computers.
But Sensible, we have a grand vision, and that really is to fundamentally and forever change the way people interact with computers, enhance it.
It's really just digital clay. It's letting you get your hands dirty using a computer. I'll change his expression a little bit.
Sensible Technologies founder and chief technical officer Thomas Massey invented the hardware component of the system, known as the Phantom Interface. It operates according to the user's sense of touch, enabling real interactivity, the creation of three-dimensional virtual designs that can be felt and shaped, as well as seen on the screen.
Even though they're typing on a keyboard, especially artists, it's as if their hands were tied behind their backs. And what we've done with our technology is to let the artists take their hands and reach into the computer, and designers alike reach into the computer and feel what they're interacting with.
When it comes to freeform, feeling is believing. When you pick up the stylus to mold an object, you can actually feel the weight, the size, the shape, the very pressure of that object as you sculpt it.
If you want interactivity, I say you have to have touch. You can look at something all day, but you're not changing it until you touch it.
Clients who rely on design technology are snapping up the software. Everyone from powerhouse toy maker Hasbro to the creators of the Chicken Run collectibles. For shoemaking giant Adidas, Freeform is a useful and powerful tool that is transforming the company's design capabilities.
We can create a complete shoe, this is an extreme case, within a day, and overnight we can have our rapid prototyping machine create an object that then the designer has in their hand the next day.
The Freeform system also allows design teams at companies like Adidas to collaborate around the world, facilitating completion of designs and accelerating speed to market.
It's very difficult to make sure that what you're putting out there is what's going to be popular. Whereas if we can compress that, even by weeks, it's really of great value to us.
If I have a digital asset, I can send it anywhere in the world instantly to numerous people with one keystroke.
Product development analyst Ben Rose believes the Freeform system has tremendous potential impact for design innovation.
They could be addressing a market in the multiple billions because over time, if this technology turns out to be as successful in the apparel industry and in the toy industry as it can be in general manufacturing, I think it could replace a lot of the technology that's being used for product design in those industries.
While Sensible Technologies is presently focused on meeting the needs of business clients, Freeform has the potential to become as universal for form creation as word processing has for writing, and to change our thinking about computers as well.
I don't think we've seen the end of what this can be used for. There's a fundamental need that people have to create 3D forms, and it's been unmet in computers to this point.
All computers should be touch enabled. And what I think you'll find is that computers will be much more friendly when they start behaving like the real world and quit behaving like computers. So my vision is to see this technology being adopted widely on every desktop.
A grand vision and an impressive technology. I'm Mary McGuire for Business Now.
Yes, now can anyone just summarize what was the video all about? I will not give you any hints. So you have to tell me what was present in the video, what were they speaking about, which technology were they referring to? Any one of you? Yes, students, come on. Did all of you see the video, first of all? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So if that is the case, tell me, what was the video all about?
They're telling that with technology we can also design many things, and it has transformed the designing technology in many ways. Like we are able to create models of shoes or any model, like as they shown, they have created a human model where by any touch they are able to move the certain part just by touch. They are totally saying that technology is transformed in a way that we can use it for benefit in many ways.
Okay. Any other points? Some other students? Yes, any one of you? Any boy? Ajay? Kritik? Pradeep? Pawan? Shrikant Reddy? Your viewpoints about the video. What was the video all about? One of your friend have given some, her observations. I want your viewpoint. Yes, quick. Boys. Kushal is also there. Shrikant Reddy. Shrikant Reddy. Can you hear me? Pradeep. Pradeep. Okay. Just for this. Is my screen visible, students? There was a small technical glitch, in fact. Am I audible and my screen is visible, students?
Yes, ma'am, it's all.
Yeah. Okay. The last video which you people saw, it was all about how to create virtual objects, right? And how to interact with those virtual objects so that we can get the feel that we're actually interacting with that particular object. And they projected one particular example, that is Adidas, that is creating shoe. All right. So a model of shoe is created, and depending upon how the human being might feel, okay, when he or she will wear that particular shoe, where exactly the pressure is more or pressure is less, and how would the virtual object react, right? Because there are a lot of parameters which the shoes they generally have to surpass, or they have to clear the test. It is called as clearance test, right? The sole should be of very high quality, because it is ultimately the brand which speaks. They cannot release the products or the shoes which don't have last long, right? So because they are having a very good reputation in the global market, Adidas, Nike, in fact, and there's so many other brands as well. So if the soles are not good, or if the design is not good, and if the shoe is not able to handle the pressure what the human beings which depends upon the human being weight also. So there are so many factors. So all these things they generally test, and they find out the result with respect to accuracy by interacting with the virtual object. At the same time, even the sensory organs, that is the company was Sensible Technology, in fact. So how the sensory motion, if I make use of any external gadget, okay, or external device in order to interact with the virtual object, then it becomes interactive, right? So I am interacting with the virtual object. So all those features were demonstrated in that particular video, right? Yeah. Okay, moving further now, we will continue with the slides. I think last class we had done the applications of AI. Now the next one is expert systems. So we'll just start with this particular topic. Okay, expert systems. Yeah, so an expert system, it's a knowledge-based information system. Now, since we are familiar with what is knowledge system or knowledge-based system, how the data or the knowledge is extracted from the historic data. Okay, so we are familiar with that, right? So this is expert system is again a knowledge-based information system. Okay, and what it consists of, it basically contains or encompasses of the knowledge about a specific complex or application area, or a specific or complex application area. So see, generally okay, I will take one simple example. Maybe in your class, okay, if there is something to be organized, or if there is some event you people are planning, okay, and one particular student is very good in doing mimicry or something, right? So you people know that okay, that one student is expertise in something, or in his or her own talent, right? And maybe somebody is good in singing, somebody is extraordinary in dancing. So these are some of the skills what you people have. And the moment anybody asks who is good in singing, most majority of you, you take up only one particular student name, because he or she is expert in that particular skill or in that particular talent, right? So something similar, on those similar lines, even the systems are also recognized as expert systems. Okay, and they as what, expert consultant to end users. Okay, so hence any system which can provide solution to the common man or to the end user based on the the complexity of the problem, or what kind of solution the decision support system provides, it is called as expert system. And these expert systems are nothing but they are decision support systems itself. Okay, now what are the components of an expert system? It should definitely have a knowledge base, because facts about a specific subject area, because the system should have sufficient knowledge, right? So if I say I am good in classical dancing, that means I need to have sufficient knowledge about the classical dance forms and various mudras, and which are the different examinations I have to take in order to say that yes, I have excelled in the classical dance field, right? So there is junior, senior, and vidvat, and post vidvat also you have some Ranga Pravesha. because I am into this particular field, so I know certain things, right? So it's very important that you should know certain facts and statistics about that particular, domain expertise. So heuristics that express the reasoning procedures of an expert. So there are some, thumb rules. We say thumb rule. So maybe you as a senior, maybe you might provide some sort of input to your junior, saying that there are some thumb rules to be followed, in order to have a wonderful journey of your engineering career at SVCE for the next 3 years or for the next 4 years. Okay, so you might give some thumb rules, right? So it is like, it's again based on logical reasoning, or the reason why you choose that. These are the thumb rules. So something similar to that, heuristics that express the reasoning procedures of an expert, generally called as rules of thumb. Okay, so these both comprises what? The knowledge base. Okay, next is the software resources, and we know that to what extent the information technology aid is used in order to develop or design the decision support system, and same thing holds good even for the expert systems as well. So an inference engine processes the knowledge and recommends a course of action. So software resources comprises of three important parts. First one is an inference engine, second one is the user interface program, and the third one is explanation program. So what is inference engine? It processes, it's an engine, or it's a binding agent which processes the knowledge, and it recommends or it automates a decision, okay, or a course of action. So that is what is given here. An inference engine processes the knowledge and recommends a course of action. Next is user interface program. Since it's a system, expert system, there should be a very good user interface, or I mean, you people know as it is called as graphical user interface. So if the user interface is not comfortable, if it is too very complex, then any common man or any end user will find it difficult to handle by themselves without any assistance, right? So the user interface program should be easy to communicate with the end user, so that the user, with minimal help or with minimal documentation help or with minimal support, they can interact with the system. And explanation programs explain the reasoning process to the end user. So this is something, technical aspect. So if anybody is interested, or any end user wants to know further, so this is something like, you have your Microsoft Word, right? And you want to try something new, or you want to try a feature which is available already in the MS Word, but still you are a beginner to that particular feature. So what will you do? Generally, you go for the online help or the Microsoft help, correct? So when you go for that particular help, you get a lot of documentation and a lot of examples, how to use and what are the different features, what you can explore in order to, make use of that particular feature which is available in the MS Office application. But further, so if you are very much specific how to use and what to do, you will just extract that particular information and leave it. Maybe some students or some end users who are more interested to know, okay, how this particular feature was introduced into the MS Word application. So they will go in detail, right? And you will also see that in the help support documentation, you have many hyperlinks as well. Okay, the color of the font also will be changed and it will be underlined. So the moment you place the mouse on that particular link, you will see that the browser or the help page will be redirected to some other page. So it is like you will start from one particular point, but as and when you start clicking the hyperlinks, you will see to it that you will be navigated to so many different pages, right? So that is explanation program. So it's like explain the reasoning process to the end user. So all of you quickly draw this particular diagram, components of an expert system. Yes, and all of you will enable the camera today. I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay, draw the diagram. Completed students? Quickly draw the diagram. You completed or not? Can I get any response? Yeah. And the 2 minutes I'll give you quickly. Completed students? Yes? Yeah. Then all of you enable your camera and show me the diagram. The moment I give you some tasks, automatically students will start leaving the class. 22 was the strength and see now it's only 18. I mean including me. Just show the diagram all of you. Okay. I can see Lakshmi Shravani, Chandrapriya, Maunika. How about others? Rakshita. Okay, Neha is there. Chandrapriya. Others quickly enable. Okay, fine. You can stop, okay? So can any one of you explain the diagram based on your own understanding? Chandrapriya, can you explain the diagram, the components of the expert system? You're there, Chandrapriya.
Hello, yes ma'am.
Yeah, can you explain the diagram based on your observation?
Yes ma'am.
Yeah.
The topic is components of an expert system. It has two methods, expert system and expert system development. where in expert system, user
Continue.
in expert system, it includes user. He works in a workstation which includes user interface programs and interference engine program with the knowledge base, which is connected to expert system development, where it includes knowledge acquisition program and with the he and expert and workstation.
That's it.
Yes, ma'am.
Kushal, you're there? Kushal? There in the class? Yeah, so as one of your friend explained, so this is the entire export system today. So we know that now, based on the previous slide discussion or the points what we saw, we know that the end user will be interacting with the export system, right? And export system will have its own expertise based on its specialization, and it has a lot of knowledge management system. It has already stored knowledge, okay, not data. Because knowledge is, again, it could be in the form of patterns or some insights, okay. So you have the expert advice, again it is a workstation, and as we discussed, it comprises of expert system interface or software, sorry. So the expert system software comprises of both user interface programs as well as interference engine program, and what each one of these are we have seen in the previous slide already, okay. And definitely the software need to fetch the knowledge, so hence the database is required. So here it is, the database is with respect to the knowledge base, correct. So the data is extracted from the knowledge base, and then it is being used by the expert system, okay, expert system software. And the same thing, it has been also, the data is required by the knowledge acquisition program, okay, which is mentioned here. And this knowledge acquisition program, it could be running any of the model or the make usage of tool to extract sufficient knowledge, okay. And this system which does this acquisition part requires the knowledge engineering domain expertise, and again it is through a workstation. And to handle this particular knowledge acquisition or knowledge acquirement, we need an expert or a knowledge engineer, okay. So these are some of the components of an expert system. Fine. So moving further, various methods of knowledge representation. You have case-based and frame-based. So what is case-based? This is a knowledge generally in the form of cases. You people, have you heard of the use cases? Not test cases, use cases. Have you heard of this particular keyword or terminology? Students? Yes or no? Use cases. I'm not asking about test cases. Okay. What are test cases? Any one of you? What are test cases?
On certain parameters to check a particular program.
Okay. So if that is a test case, well, what is use case then? Use case is generally, elaboration or explanation or graphical representation of one particular scenario. Okay, it could be a scenario with the help of, okay, the best way is, yes, in your software testing subject, you have one ATM application, right? ATM example. if I'm not wrong. Yes or no? Yes or no, students? Right? So how to do the banking transactions or banking operations? That entire scenario can be demonstrated graphically with the help of use cases. How the user interacts with the system. Okay, so that is called as use cases. So generally cases are examples of past performance, occurrences and experiences. So this is like case based on the scenarios or based on the circumstances, based on the relevance, you can have the knowledge representation. Okay, so this is the first case. Next is frame based. What is frame based? So knowledge organized in a hierarchy or network of frames. So sometimes what happens is there exists interdependency or relationship between the knowledge what you have extracted. Okay, for example, if I have to find out how many customers are loyal for the bank, okay, who have successfully taken the loan and have done the repayment within the stipulated amount of time, so they are termed as loyal customers. Okay, so if I have to identify who are the loyal customers for my banking application, then what will I do? I will have one hierarchy of knowledge. First and foremost, who are the customers? Okay, what is their customer ID? Okay, and what is the loan amount they had taken from the bank, and based on the term duration, whether it is for 3 years, the 5 years or the 7 years, whatever it is, based on the complete period, who are those customers who have completed the repayment of loan successfully. Okay, so it is like you'll get a hierarchy. So and somehow it all the data is interrelated. Definitely the primary key here is the customer ID, the bank customer ID, but still the amount, the principal amount, which the customer had taken post loan sanction, that is also very important data, and it forms a hierarchy, right? So knowledge extracted or knowledge represented in the form of hierarchy is called as frame based, and a frame is collection of what knowledge about an entity consisting of a complex package of data values describing its attributes. Okay, so here the example what I have taken, the loan, so I think the entity can be only the customer, right? And the complex different attributes can be what, whether the customer have taken the loan or not, and if the customer is availed the loan, then what is the principal amount and what is the interest rate, and for what is the duration, what is the term of the loan, whether it is 3 years, 5 years, and whether the customer is successfully repaid the loan or not. So there are so many attributes, which describes the customer entity. Okay, so it is a frame based. Next, you have next method, it is object based. So knowledge represented as a network of objects, and we know object is, again, it's an instance in itself, right? So an object is a data element that includes both data and the methods or processes that act on those data. And next is rule based. I think we will stop at this particular point. Object based and rule based we will take up in the next class. I have one important call to attend. Okay, students, how many of you are present? Okay.